7 gangs approach the Dust Wall after a long journey across the wastes. They're confronted not just by the Dust Wall, but also squads of guardsmen, robots, and enforcers. Which gangs will make it to the wall, and which gangs will simply squabble amongst themselves? Find out this time on JD in the Sump Sea. Welcome back to JD in the Sump Sea. I'm Jay, and today the video is about Game 6 of our Journey to Hive Secundus Ash Wastes campaign. It's a battle report that we did way back on a Halloween at the game store, Old Guard Games in Milwaukee. And make sure you check out their website and their Discord to find out all the events coming up. There'll be a link in the description below. And if you like things like Necromunda, Sludge, other miniature war games, then you might want to bust out your Warhammer and smash that like button and smash that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon so you don't miss any of our videos. Thanks for watching. Now let's get into the video. On October 31st, Halloween, we played a scenario based loosely on the endgame scenario called Gateway to Hell. I made a video about all the Necromunda articles in White Dwarf magazine, and this scenario is part of an article in White Dwarf 459. Link in the description below. This game was meant to wrap up the Journey to Hive Secundus campaign, with all the gangs who participated finally reaching the Dust Wall. The Gateway to Hell scenario is about the gangs at the end of a campaign in the Hive arriving at a gate that will let them out into the Ash Wastes. I just inverted the scenario, in a sense, to match my idea for this end game. I also added a weather effect called Firestorm, where at the beginning of every turn, flame erupts from the battlefield, and 5 templates are scattered about, representing these gouts of flame. I also limited the visibility to 18 inches. All the gangs deployed 12 inches on from the board edge opposite the wall. The objective was to get past the guardsmen, the robots, and the enforcers, get to the wall, and then move off the board. Once a model had reached the wall, I ruled that they would find a passage in the wall and be able to leave the battlefield. Whomever got the most models off the board by the time the game was over was the winner of the game. Turn 1 begins with Jacob moving his Delac vehicle straight down the center of the board along the main road to the main gate in the wall. Ian then moves his large tracked vehicle towards my guardsman sitting in the trenchworks. Ian then opens fire with all manner of Vansar weaponry, and ends up taking 2 of the guardsmen out of action. Ty moves one of his walkers and some gangers of his straight forward. Chuck's Ash Waste nomads begin moving forward, and his storm collar lowers the visibility to 12 inches.
Visibility is now 12.
Visibility is 12.
It's my only gimmick!
Mike then moves his Ogrins forward, starting with a medium vehicle he 3D printed and followed up by some of his Ogrins on trikes. Matt decides to play to his gang's instincts and disembarks 3 corpse grinders to line up a charge on the nomads. Jacob opens fire on the Ogrins who just drove up next to him, and it began a running battle between the Delac and the Ogrins the rest of the way. Jacob continues moving his gang forward down the road. Ian moves the second half of his gang forward and tries to keep pace with his vehicle. His infiltrating Ambot then moves down a trench line to get closer to my guardsmen. Ty moves the rest of his gang forward, just trying not to get left behind by the other faster gangs on his left and right. Chuck's nomads on foot then start moving to get better firing angles and then start shooting at Matt's corpse grinders. He does minimal damage to the vehicle and it then lost control and swerved, but only slightly. Mike then brings his Ogrins to bear on the Delac. He charges the vehicle and takes off 2 hull points, but it's only minor damage in the grand scheme of things. He moves the rest of his gang forward and closer to the Delac. He throws a grenade, and it scatters off, missing the vehicle.
an infiltrating corpse grinder.
Matt's corpse grinder, who infiltrated into a building close to the wall, throws a smoke grenade at the enforcers, but it misses and scatters to right in front of the wall. His other infiltrator runs towards the wall, hoping to sneak past the patrolling robot. After all the gangs have gone, I begin controlling the NPCs. I treat the guardsman squads as squads, so they have to pass one nerve check for the whole squad. This squad unfortunately failed their nerve check and decides to run away. I move a robot towards the advancing Dalak down the center of the board. I move another robot into a trench works near where the nomads are heading. I move the Talarn squad out of their hiding spot towards Ian's gang, and I then move the Catachan squad up in the trenches towards Benjamin's truck on the far flank. After that move, a long turn 1 is over. Turn 2 begins with me placing the Firestorm templates around the board. I'm not trying to be mean with this placement, I want them to act as obstacles more than weapons. Jacob begins turn 2 by placing his Noct Ghoul in the smoke right next to the wall. Benjamin's Chaos Gang moves forward again in his custom vehicle that was very obviously once used by orcs. Jacob continues his advance towards the wall by moving straight forward down the road and rams into some of my guardsmen who pass initiative checks and move out of the way. Although one gets caught in the vehicle's anti-grav engines and dies. Jacob then moves the rest of his first team forward, fires at the robot, pinning it. Ian fires some frags from his ambot at the guard squad, pinning 2 of them. He moves a few gangers up and fires at the guard squad again, this time killing a guy. Ty moves his walker into the trench line and then moves some other gangers. We realize the rules for walkers don't let them ignore difficult terrain and are instead slowed by it like other fighters, so he moves the walker back a few inches. Chuck decides he's had enough of these corpse grinders. He turns a nomad around and fires off a web weapon into them. At this point, all 3 corpse grinders are seriously wounded,
Humpy is webbed.
and Chuck can then clean them all up with some charges and coup de grace moves. The rest of his cavalry then move into the trenches. Mike decides to try and block off Jacob's Dalak by moving in front of them. He throws a grenade that has minimal effect. He then charges the Dalak again, and again doesn't do a whole lot to the vehicle. Matt tries to fire his vehicle's guns at the Stormcaller, but misses. One of Ty's gangers falls off the transport bed of his walker after taking some fire, and is pinned but otherwise unharmed. The sneaky Noct Ghoul is the first to find a tunnel through the wall, and leaves the battlefield to take his first steps into Hive Secundus. Ian then continues the barrage of weapons fire into the guard squad, seriously wounding one, pinning and then causing a flesh wound on another. More fire is poured onto them, and another guardsman is seriously wounded. Ty moves his other walker forward, and follows that up by moving his squad 2 up next to it. Chuck moves his nomads on foot off the platform they'd been skulking on and towards the dust wall. Mike begins moving his trikes and his heavier vehicle, getting ready to do some more damage to the Dalak.
Alright, let's blow up a vehicle. Vehicle!
Oh, cool.
Arc welder. Arc welders are good for putting together and taking apart, apparently. Oh! Body glancing. But Ham shall carry on their memory by throwing a stun grenade over here.
He then misses, and it scatters off.
Thumbs is going to throw a phosphorus canister onto the vehicle. He's going to use the grenade bouquet.
The Grenade Bouquet is a tactics card that allows you to throw not 1 or 2 grenades, but D3 of the same grenade. He rolls a 5, so he can throw 3 grenades, which can be very destructive, but in this case 2 of the 3 grenades do not hit the target, and an Ogren gets set on fire, the Dalak gets pinned, and the vehicle swerves, but nowhere near what he wanted to happen actually happened.
That will not wound him. He's not blazed. And then Thumbs, he's not on fire either. He's on fire.
Matt's infiltrating corpse grinder successfully avoided the robot and escapes through the wall. Matt's other infiltrating corpse grinder fires on the enforcers again, but again, he misses them. Turn 2 then comes to an end. The game is starting to wind down by turn 3. These large multiplayer games are fun spectacles, and for a while can be fun to play, but they do wear you down after a few hours. I start the turn as usual by placing the Firestorm templates. Benjamin moves his Orky truck forward into the trenchworks. Jacob's Deloc anti-grav vehicle makes a turn, then moves closer to the wall with plans to smash through it next turn. Jacob moves the rest of his first team, taking shots at guardsmen as he goes. The enforcers may finally have range on something. The Nomads made the visibility 12 inches on turn 1, making it hard to see anything that's not right in front of you. Ian's monstrous vehicle continues its advance, rolling over the trenches with impunity and grinding guardsmen into the dirt as he rolls over their dead bodies. His mining laser takes a shot at the robot and hits but fails to wound. The Nomads charge into the robot with their lances as they come roaring through the trench. Ty tries to take a pot shot at the robot also, but he misses. Mike moves a trike forward. Matt then tosses a crack grenade from the hab, seriously wounds an enforcer, then moves back to hide from the return fire. The roadway to the main gate is dominated by the Ogrins. And as turn 3 comes to a close, everyone knows that this game is all but over. The next turn will be the last, and then we'll see who is the winner. Turn 4 begins with Ty moving one of his walkers and the rest of that team forward further into the trench system. Chuck's Ash Waste Nomads, who are on foot, continue their march towards the dust wall. Mike moves his big truck forward onto the road, then moves a trike twice to try and catch up with the Deloc.
Titus Chicas is going to try to blow that thing up again.
His other biker tries to once again kill the Deloc skimmer that is way behind the rest of the gang. Despite rolling lots of dice, the vehicle remains on the road. He then chucks a huge grenade onto some of Ty's gangers and ends up seriously wounding them. Matt tries to catch up with the others on the road by moving his medium vehicle towards the action. The Deloc scan the dust wall and find a weak point they think they can exploit. They immediately smash the skimmer into that point, and it goes right through. Ian follows Jacob's lead and rams into the wall section closest to his gang and succeeds in getting through into Secundus. Ty's other walker then moves forward, just trying to keep pace. Chuck's Nomad cavalry then moves through the trenches and out the other end, trying desperately to get to the wall. Mike's Ogrins make one last move to try and get there as well. Matt makes another move with his medium vehicle, and then for all intents and purposes, the game ends. With this move right here, Ian ended up winning the game. It was a great move, and you could tell throughout the game that he had a plan. He was even able to get his Ambot to jump on board before he moved his vehicle through the wall. Well, we had quite a campaign. We traveled from Hive Primus all the way to the Dust Wall at the edge of Hive Secundus, 3 Rolling Roads games, and a couple of other interesting scenarios like Target Practice and Forgotten Riches. I'm so happy everyone had a good time. I brought snacks to the final game because it was Halloween. Some of us were in costume. After this game was over, I handed out certificates to the winners. Here are the final standings and the certificates I handed out. Jacob won the Road Warrior, he had the most wins. Mike won Do You Know Who I Am? He had the highest rep. Chuck won the Road of Corpses, or most enemies out of action. Nate won Let It Burn, which was the most enemy vehicles wrecked. And everyone at the end voted on Best Painted, and Jacob won that one, The Wonder of the Wastes. He had all of these flashing lights, and his models were just great looking. Here's another picture of his gang. Thanks again for watching this video. We had a great time on Halloween, and it was great being able to give out a bunch of prizes, and I think everybody had a really good time. I brought snacks, and people enjoyed them, and it's really turned into a great community of Necromunda hobbyists that we've had at the store. So again, I hope you like this video, and we'll be back next time. But until then, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.